Hey guys, you are listening to Insights with Kathleen,
Please join us while we share our insights and experiences
with the hope to inspire you to look inside of yourself.
for the answers you already have.
As with all information we receive,
Take what speaks to you
and leave the rest.
Welcome back, everyone.
Hey, how are you all doing today?
Oh my goodness, Cherry, I have the hiccups.
You have the hiccups?
I think so.
I brought you your water, so
you
make
did,
sure
you
you're...
did. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. You gave me a cool rag earlier, so I feel like it's the least I could do in your own
Look
place.
at us. We're taking care of each other.
We're taking care of each other.
We must be friends or something.
We must be friends or something. I have a topic.
You do?
I do.
And I didn't even have to ask. All right.
Good. I was actually
Wait on
very
it.
excited to talk about this because we actually talked about it a little before the podcast, but I kind of want to spin in such a way of how, we talk about these self-help tips and all these different things, but it's like a bigger thing. There's the spirituality piece and how important it is to be embodied. And I don't know, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that because I know from my experience, a lot of the times when I'm facing like adversities or hardship, I'm just kind of like, I just want to leave my body and not be here. And I just,
That is beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, not that it's beautiful how you made those connections, right? So first let's go back to like what's embodied. What does that mean?
Okay.
All right. So that means being very aware that you are inside your person. What are you talking about, Kathleen?
What are you talking about?
So when trauma arises or people or something dramatic happens, sometimes the brain will kind of like disconnect us
Okay.
as a way to protect us.
Right.
So that's being out of bodied.
Right.
That's one version of being out of bodied.
Mm-hmm.
Being embodied is being connected to all your senses, to knowing, hey, I'm here in this body. I am consciously interacting with the physical world around me.
Right.
All right. So I'm connected down into the planet.
Yes.
Right. And then another out of body piece is connecting to God, connecting to our angels, connecting to source energy.
Right.
For whatever people label or call that or whatever they're comfortable with.
Right.
It is the same thing.
Mm.
They're all the same. They're all one. We're all one. We're all connected. We're energy inside of us. We are spirits embodied.
Mm-hmm.
So not our whole soul lives in our body. It's
what does that mean?
So our souls are so big. So that's why, I say that, remember, you're bigger than anything that could ever happen to you.
Right.
Because you're inside of your soul. Your soul's not inside of your body. Only a small fragment of the soul that brings you life, that brings you breath, that spirit that lives inside of you. That's just a small piece of you.
What?
Oh no.
That's crazy. I actually had no idea about that.
Yeah, so we learn a lot about our soul being, we all know about like what a soul is, right? And I don't know about those listening, but I know for myself that I always thought that my whole soul was inside of my body.
Right. I thought it would.
But our souls are so big it can't fit into this little body. But our body is inside of our soul, our energy packet.
Oh, okay.
Right. So when we even talk about auras and things like that,
yeah.
So that's more of your energy field, more expanded, which is also part of your soul.
That makes sense because, like, sometimes I don't know if this has happened to you when you walk into a room and you could just feel someone's presence in there when their body hasn't even went into the room yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And just like how people can feel those who have passed on, who have left their body and are no longer embodied.
Right.
Those who have died, as we label it. But we could still feel them.
Right.
Even though they're not physically here. And some people brush it off. Others are like, oh, he's here. I can feel him. Or she's here. I can smell her perfume. Or
yeah.
I just feel that. That's because the energy packet that you were feeling when they were in the body, you're now feeling it separate of the body.
Oh.
Because now they've gone back and to their whole again as a whole soul.
Ah, okay.
Right? That whole energy is all together now.
Yeah.
Opposed to just a piece of it being. Now, when I say a piece of it, it doesn't mean it breaks off and it goes into a body. Okay?
Well, and clarify, I was like, my soul broken because it's in the body?
No. And that is a whole another bigger conversation when we talk about broken souls. But no, you're still attached. And that's why, like, when we talk about our higher self,
right,
we're talking about that part of our energy or part of our self that is not embodied, that has this bigger perspective of what's really happening all around us.
So everyone has one of those.
Everybody does.
Oh.
Even the animals.
Huh.
Oh, no.
I didn't even know that.
Yes.
So I know there's like the higher self. Is there like, I know about the spirit team because we've actually mentioned it a little bit in the podcast, but I don't know if we've actually like talked about it that much.
Well, we didn't get into details, right? But we probably don't want to get too far off of our topic because we could run down this road of, really expanding more onto that, right? So, so being embodied is important. One, because we've all agreed to be here embodied at this point in time. You're here on purpose. Sometimes it doesn't feel like we are, especially like when things are happening around us or we're experiencing things that we find unpleasant. But knowing that we chose to be here, I don't know about you, but I feel so more empowered to know that I made this choice to be here at this point in time, in this body, this particular body that I'm in.
Right.
I chose all of it. I don't remember it on my human level, but trusting and knowing that I did do this and that I kind of sketched out an outline. I made an outline of what it is I want to experience.
Right.
And I made a few deals. I mean, before being embodied that, hey, I want to do this. Oh, I want the other side of that experience. And, so that's kind of like how this all plays out. Now, that's an oversimplified thing. So don't let anybody hurt your head trying to, and then argue with me about it later. But I'm just trying to keep it simple. But sometimes we need that extra support that's beyond our human friends, right?
Right.
Or beyond those who are embodied with us. So we want to have that bigger picture of like, oh, I cannot remember why I really contracted to be here or what it is that I really want to get from this full experience. But my human is really pushing and leaning towards these things, right?
Right.
So connecting up into our higher self, remember that other part of us that's not fully embodied,
right,
that has that bigger perspective, that's closer to the angels, that's closer to God himself or herself, or however you want to see God, or source energy, right? And that higher portion of ourselves is in communication with our spirit team and the teams of others, that paths that we're crossing.
Ah, okay.
So like when we cross paths, your team and our team, like right now as we're talking, our spirit team is kind of commingling. For those who are listening, it doesn't matter if you're listening, later tonight as soon as we upload this podcast, or live with us, or a week, a month, years later, your spirit team's already commingling.
Right. Ooh.
Because we already, in that higher perspective, we already know who's tuning in and when they're tuning in.
Right.
So that when you do listen to this, you're listening to it in perfect divine timing, that this message is coming to you at this point in time of your listening, because this is when you need to hear it.
Oh, I love that.
Right? But we as humans wouldn't know that unless we had this higher perspective.
Right. Yeah.
So now as we're chugging along, and let's just say, things are good or things are bad, or however you're perceiving those things, but you want a little more clarity on things. So that's where, like, we hear about praying, right? Yeah. And prayer tends to be, at least from organized religion, from my experience, and it's either a laundry list or it's out of lack, like, my life is so terrible. Can you save me? Save me from this, or make this go away, or something along those lines. That if we just make a small little shift in how we are talking, how we're praying, and we make that shift and focus into what it is that we want.
Right.
What we don't want is the contrast, right? So what I mean is like, that whatever this experience that you're going through and you're not enjoying it, that's a contrast, right? It doesn't feel right. It feels like a struggle. It feels like you can't breathe. It feels like you're hitting a brick wall. It feels like adversity. It feels like,
can't breathe.
Yeah. So that's an opportunity to step back. And as we say, take a big, deep breath, do some breathing. And this is how we center ourselves. And it's always a good way to do that before praying and connecting in, and then focusing on what it is you want, not what you don't want.
I always thought it was all right, if I just say what I don't want, then I'll not get that.
Right. But if you focus on what you don't want, then you're inviting more of it in, because what is the language of spirit?
I'd like to know.
Right? The language of spirit is feelings.
Right.
And that's why, like, our intuition is in our gut, and we go by our feels, right? So our mind is more that logical, hey, we're just going to be really logical about this.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll be so logical, we'll tell you scary stories and stop you. But and this comes back to those three minds we were talking about before. And again, for those listening, if you want to know a little bit more about that, it's your brain, your heart, mind, and then your gut mind.
Right.
And Elizabeth Wood, Seer Scientist, she has a good little ebook that she's put together on that. So for anybody who really wants to hear a little bit more about it, I encourage you to go look her up and to read it.
Nice.
But we're not going to get fully in there. But if all three minds are fully aligned, then you're in a better position to be able to receive really clear clarity around your situation.
Okay.
But it does start with centering, breathing, emptying your mind, and then realizing, okay, I'm here doing this because I already know I have this contrast that's happening and I'm not really digging it. But the upside is I realize I don't want that. Right?
Right.
So I want this. So it helped you get one step closer to what it is you do want. And then you start picturing and figuring out, like, where you want to go. How does that feel in you when you're focusing on what you want? Right? So an example. Let's pretend, and this is not true, but let's pretend that I live in a ratty neighborhood, a ratty house. It's all like, everything's falling apart. It smells nasty.
There's rats in the ratty apartment.
Yeah, rats in a ratty apartment. A few roaches maybe. But let's just say that was my environment where I currently was living. And I'm like, I'm hating every piece of this. I'm like creepy. Like, I feel like things are on my skin and I just can't get clean enough. And I really don't like it.
Right.
Really don't. I'd rather be living in some gorgeous beach house somewhere, smelling the ocean breeze, having that, the sun on my face, or, smelling the salt, hearing the seagulls, right? So in my current situation of this ratty rat place with the creepy crawlers crawling up
and
my
the rats
skin.
and the rats and the ratty rats and the ratty cockroaches.
So instead of continually focus on how much I hate it there, I'm going to shift it and say, I'm going to acknowledge it first to say, hey, you know what? Thank you. Thank you for this gift of contrast of knowing that I don't want this. Right? And then I'm going to shift it and say, okay, what do I want? I want something more than this. I want something clean. I want something fresh. And then I start imagining it, feeling fresh, feeling clean. And then that's kind of like my goal, and that's where I'm heading.
Right.
And knowing that maybe one day I want that beach house, right? Yeah. Even if it is a tiny little bungalow, but I could feel it and I'm living it. You can't fake it. You got to really
feel it
and be in it. You can't pretend it, because the universe, speaking through feelings, right? In our gut and our heart, that's how we communicate with them, and that's how they communicate back with us. So now as human beings, we'll use words because words carry feelings. Words carry power. They really do. They carry a vibration. That was the word I was really looking for. Words carry vibration, and it's through the vibration of feeling that we're able to talk with the universe, and the universe talk back to us.
No, that makes a lot of sense, because I know I've either said like I don't want something and I'll focus on either not doing something or whatever, and then that will just happen and I'm like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah, it's kind of like dating, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Why do I keep attracting all these losers?
Right.
So it's because you keep either repeating the same stuff or you keep focusing on a certain something, and some of that comes down to yourself.
Right.
Because this is all about you driving this.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's doing it to you.
Yeah.
You're doing it to yourself. And that's the rub, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I encourage you, if you're in a bad place right now, have faith, have courage in the fact that it doesn't need to stay this way.
Right.
And we all have choices, and each choice gets us to a step closer to where we really want to be.
That's the big part.
It is. And it is shifting our perspectives a little at a time. No one gets there like...
She's trying to snap. There you go, guys. I can do it. No, I think I feel the same way sometimes too, because I'll either have a goal and I'm like, why haven't I met this? Like, it's a very lofty goal. It's like, why haven't I met this goal yet? What's wrong with me? Whatever. But I never think about the in-between of how either someone else has gotten there that is doing something similar, or like just the steps in which, hey, I'm one step further to this. And I just sometimes shift my perspective in such a way of like, oh, defeatist attitude, maybe.
Yes. So it is. Now, it's not to say that we don't feel our feels, because those are important.
Right.
Feelings are really important. They're a map. They give us direction. And sometimes we really need to get into and feel those feels. So as we're introducing our listeners to the esoteric world, right?
Right.
Spirituality, and we're opening this up more and more, there are people who are so connected, right? And who really can just be out of the body and tapping into the all that is.
Right.
And they're really good at it. But they're not so good about living inside of their body. They're not so good at the human life.
Right.
And it's not to judge that.
Yeah.
Because, you know what? I envy. I have envy. Yeah. I envy. Sometimes I do. But my envy too, I'm gonna be real here. The envy really is just it's a cover of self-judgment almost, right?
Right.
I come with my own big powerhouse package of spiritual gifts. But when I compare my gifts against, the many that are out there,
right,
my gifts don't really compare like apples to apples and oranges to oranges.
Right.
It doesn't, because I'm a unique being, so therefore my stuff is very unique.
Right.
And I'm saying this so that those who are listening understand that your gifts are very unique.
Yeah.
That we all come at it a different way. But for those people I was talking about where, they're really good at having these out-of-body experiences, and trust me, it feels good when you do it, and it's cool, and you feel like so powerful, right? So like when life's getting a little challenging, it's no wonder that people want to pop out, right? Kind of like what we were saying in the beginning of this very long-winded conversation I'm having. But the thing is to try and encourage people who do that to try and be embodied, to trust that they're still bigger than any feelings they can be experiencing.
Right.
That, and I know, Sherry, that you and I, we talk about this too, and you'll go, how can my bad feelings or these heavy feelings feel so chocolatey? What are you talking about?
Yes, that is what she says. And I'm like, I'm feeling the feels, and you're like, but it's so chocolatey and rich. And I'm like, what do you mean? I hate this.
Because some of the feelings don't really, we don't like to experience them because they're so dense and they're so heavy.
Right.
But if we learn to embrace them with love and let go of the self-judgment, then it has this richness of information about ourselves, about where we want to be, about how we're thinking, about how we're taking the world in, so then we can step back and say, all right, how can we clear through this?
Right.
You want to receive it in, because again, the universe, everything's always moving. So you want to welcome that feeling to come on in, and you look and see, okay, where's the hot buttons? What's really being bubbled up?
Yes.
And sometimes there's things to look at and to release, and sometimes it's just about inviting the feeling to come in. You feel it, you thank it, and you welcome it to keep moving.
I never thought to do the second part, because I'm always so used to, and we talked about this in the earlier podcast of like, I would feel these, denser chocolatey feelings, and I'm like, okay, I gotta like analyze this, write this down. But I've never thought to be like, all right, just let it flow through. All right.
Yes, because sometimes there's really nothing to fix as much as there is to feel.
Okay.
And it's being loving and respectful of yourself to allow yourself the space to feel and not judge it. Oh my goodness, I'll tell you, for the past 2 days, I was sitting here watching like a rerun of a rerun, right? And I've seen it before, but all of a sudden I'm noticing that like I'm crying at stuff that, it's kind of like, why are you crying?
Right.
But I didn't really go, why are you crying? I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. I'm crying. I'm like feeling this. Like I know that none of this is real people.
Right.
I'm like the real people acting, but the characters aren't real. They're made up. But at the same time, because I'm identifying so much, I'm taking in that feeling.
Right.
And instead of hanging on to it, I'm just allowing it to flow. I'm allowing the feeling to come over me. I'm not stopping it. I'm just allowing it to wash over me, kind of like a little waterfall.
So you're telling me you don't put your feelings on hold and then schedule a time later to feel them?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, right.
No, that's like a big thing that I would do, because I'm like, either I'll be feeling really upset or just very angry, and I'm like, oh, I'm at an event, or I'm like with people, and I'll be like, okay, if I could just hold this to like when I'm not in this area, I'll feel it, and then like, I missed the window to feel it. Maybe. Well, I don't know.
No, you don't ever miss the window, because we still carry those feelings, get imprinted on us and are in our cells. That's why, you want to make sure that your earliest convenience, that you just allow that feeling to kind of be worked through, and inviting it to keep moving. But there are occasions where, like, much like what you're saying, that sometimes there's an incident that happens and it just makes you so rip-roaring mad.
Yeah.
That if you were to act in that moment, you would rip somebody apart and then later regret it. Right? So it's emotional intelligence, where we can recognize, all right, I'm really mad at this, but I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to pause, and I'm going to set a strong boundary, and I'm just going to state, you know what? This kind of really made me mad, but I want to come back later and talk about it. I need some time.
Right.
Bye. And nothing wrong with that.
Smart.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you removing yourself from the situation that kind of lit you on fire.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And just taking a minute or two. That's really good communication, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
So where we can just say, hey, I'm kind of feeling mad right now. This instance, whatever this is that just happened, it kind of raised something inside of me. I need a moment to go work through this. I'm going to come back to you and we're going to talk about it.
There you go. Very concise, very clear. The other person knows what
you could soften it a little bit if you really wanted to, not to be so demanding. Like, we are going to talk about this when I come back. But to say, hey, you know what? I'm kind of feeling some feels right now. I need a few moments to me. I'm going to leave, but I would like to come back and continue this conversation later.
Right.
So
Smart.
it's a nicer way to say it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is a nicer way to say it. And be like, threaten them or something. Don't do that, guys.
Well, depends on who it is. It depends on what's happening. Sometimes you might have to.
Maybe.
I'm going to go get the cops and come back and talk to you.
I mean, there you go. You can do that too.
So, it's being embodied that also enriches our lives. Because again, like we said, or I said, we're here on purpose. We're purposely here at this point in time in the bodies that we're in.
Right.
No matter what they look like. Because I know Sherry was listening to me crying, almost self-shaming me. Because I could be eating better, I could be exercising better, and then you really realize that when you go out shopping for clothes.
That's fair.
Like formal wear, and everything you're putting on, you're going, no.
Like, I don't like this.
I should have done better. So that whole avoidance of the self-shaming, right?
Right.
And then reminding myself, hey, you know what? I'm here on purpose. I'm here right now. Yes, can I be a better steward of the vessel that's carrying, carrying me for this journey, for this part of the journey? Absolutely.
Right.
Am I going to fix that? Oh, absolutely.
Right.
But is self-shaming going to do that for me? No.
No.
It's only going to focus on what I don't want.
Right.
So instead, I'm going to start focusing on what it is I do want.
Right.
Right. And being here and recognizing that we're here on purpose in these bodies, we're here to enjoy the human experience.
Right.
You can't really fully enjoy it if you're not going to really be embodied. So guess what, Cherry?
What, Kathleen?
You could be embodied and have an esoteric experience. You can be embodied and have an out-of-body experience almost at the same time.
That's a large order you just said to me right now.
Oh, no.
That's cool.
Yes. So that's why, it's important to ground.
Yes.
Right? So then when we're reaching up, it's kind of like Archangel Sandalphon. And forgive me, anybody, for me if I botched up that name. But he's known as the tallest angel, and he carries the messages from earth to heaven up to source. Right? So if we close our eyes and we picture that, we picture our feet firmly planted on the planet and the energy from our feet going all the way into the center of the planet.
Right.
And there's this crystalline core of energy in the middle there. And we're going to connect into that energy. And energy is what anchors us, anchors our spirit into our body, onto the earth. And then we're inviting that energy to come up through us, right? And as we do that, we're already setting the intention that, look, I want to make sure I'm grounded here in my body. My spirit's grounded here so that I can pull it all the way up through my head and meet up with Archangel Sandalphon and kind of skyrocket it up to the all that is, right?
Yeah.
And then, as part of my meditation, I could do that. And then I can sit quietly and just see what happens.
Just see what happens. No, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So I know that I'm embodied, right? I can see what's happening. I haven't really left, but I'm also traveling.
That's so nice. It reminds me of the movie Click that I told you about with Adam Sandler. And the very short version of the movie is he gets his universal remote and he could skip through parts of his life that he doesn't want to experience. So a lot of the times when he was feeling sick or he got into a fight with someone, he would automatically skip over that. But then he skipped over so much of his life. He's like, wait, what happened? I missed so-and-so's graduation. I missed this. I missed my kids growing up in that. And that kind of brought it for me of okay, I might not like all of the experiences that I'm feeling, but I'm like, wow, there's richness in what you were saying with these emotions and these feelings and all of that. So it kind of shifted my perspective a bit because, I felt a lot of growth during those times for myself as well.
Pretty cool. So it also makes me think of the movie, if we're going to compare it to movies, right?
Well, she's like, I got a better movie.
No, it's not better.
It's
no. Just to enhance what you're saying.
Yeah.
So Inside Out.
Yeah.
Right? Where her different emotions are going on. And then to realize that melancholy is a really good emotion.
Right.
Mixing that joy and sadness all together.
Oh, that's what that is?
It's kind of like, you kind of feel warm and fuzzy about something, but you feel sad about it all at the same time.
I didn't even know there was a mishmash of feelings like that.
Oh, there are so many levels of different feelings and combinations. It's kind of like why I really enjoyed the portrayal in Inside Out, when they're Inside Out, where they're showing the emotions of these little characters,
right,
and then the different combinations of those emotions, right? because that's really
important.
Well, it is, because that's what, as human beings, we experience that.
Right.
There's no right or wrong way to feel. You feel. They're your feelings. You're allowed to feel them.
Exactly. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Amen to that one.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to thank everyone for listening and tuning in. We hope that you found something that you can use in this conversation. Take care. Remember, you are bigger than anything that you are going through or anything that is happening around you.